So today I was in a meeting with a group of people, and we're all working together on a project. And as one of the people was sharing, I noticed that I was having a really strong response to what they were suggesting, and the things they were proposing. And I started getting curious because when I really thought about what they were proposing, everything that they were proposing, or almost everything they were proposing, was actually really good, and something that I was really aligned with. So I was wondering, why was I having this strong reaction? And what I realized was the way that they were phrasing everything was pushing a lot of buttons for me. Or the word that people use a lot these days is I was getting triggered, so to speak. So there's a certain type, there's a collection of words that are incredibly, incredibly potent in getting us to respond favorably or not favorably to what somebody's saying, and also to what we're saying to ourselves. So as I'll talk about these, and really it's useful to look at it from a couple different perspectives, like how do they hit you when somebody else is saying them, and how do they hit you when you say them to yourself, and possibly how would other people respond to these words. So I feel that these words are some of the most critical things to get an understanding, get some facility in, if you want to be an effective communicator, or if you want people to be open to considering the things that you're sharing. So these words are need to, have to, should, must, can. So this is a collection of words that in NLP language, we call them modal operators of possibility or necessity. You don't have to worry about the name, but they're very potent words. And there are a couple of takeaways that I have about these words. One is, although there will be similarities in how people respond to them, each person will respond to certain ones more strongly than others. And if you say to yourself, I need to do this, or I have to do this, or I should do this, or I want to do this, or I can do this, each of those will get a different response from you in your internal dialogue. And it's interesting to notice which ones, when you say them, do you actually follow up and do the thing, or which ones do you kind of rebel against? So that would be your response, you saying it to yourself in your internal dialogue. And I would also notice, I mean, one thing that we've talked about quite a bit is sometimes our internal messages might be someone else's voice. We might have internalized the parent's voice or a teacher's voice. So when you hear them coming from those people, what's your response? And similarly, if you're working with somebody, or a family member uses any of these, which ones do you respond to favorably, and which ones do you push back? So this person, even though they were well-meaning, they kept saying, we need to do this. This needs to happen, or we have to do that. And it was bringing up a rebellious response in me. I like, need to, according to whom? What would happen if we didn't, right? Which are some ways that you could respond. Now, I didn't say that, but I was just noticing my reaction in that moment. And it really hit me how much they were unwittingly inviting resistance. And if they had noticed my response, even my nonverbal response, maybe they could have tried another one. So we never know exactly how the people we're communicating with will respond to these. So ultimately, you have to keep your eyes open, and you have to see that, is this something that the person in front of me right now is responding to favorably, or are they pushing back on it? if you say you should do this, most people don't like shoulds, right? But some people will take it on if the relationship is good. If I'm hearing you should do this from a mentor that I trust and respect, I'll consider it, right? So it does have a little bit to do with who you're hearing the message from. If instead of saying we need to do this, if they had said it would be useful or it would be a good idea if we did this, or if we explored doing this, that would work for me. Now, this may seem incredibly nuanced, but what I suggest that you do is, first of all, start noticing your own responses. And when you catch yourself saying one of these to yourself, just for fun, switch it to some of the others and see how it changes your response. You're looking for anything that is going to move you in the direction that you want to go ultimately. And when somebody else says it and you have a strong response, that's also good to notice. If there's one that you constantly push away from, you may not want to use that in your own internal dialogue. Now with this person, I'm kind of curious now, after the fact, how they would respond if I use that same modal operator, need to, for them. Maybe they would respond favorably, maybe not. And the only way to know is to go try it out. I think of these as each one is a different tool. It's like you have a bunch of tools in your tool bag. And the way most people use them is they have no idea what effect each one will have with the person in front of them. It's like they're, like when you go to the doctor, it's like they're taking the thing that you look in the person's ear with and they're putting it on the person's shoulder, or they're taking the little hammer to get your knee to flinch and they're like banging it on the person's head. So these things are incredibly subtle and they have different impact for ourselves and for each person in front of us. So you really need to try them out, or you can try them out, or you may want to try them out. And you should try them out. So I'm kind of being tongue in cheek, but even as I was saying those, I'm curious, how was your response with each of those? You should try this. You need to try this. You have to try this. You may want to try this. It's possible to try this. You can try this. It would be useful if you try this, or it would be useful if you do this. It would be, you must do this. You have to do this. You should do this. You may want to do this. You could do this or not. So, so I invite you to explore these. If you have any people in your life that when they say something, you consistently get triggered, you may want to check which one of these modal operators they're using in that situation, because that may be part of the learned response in your nervous system. So enjoy checking them out, and I hope they are useful.